Welcome back, everybody. Today is the day you're going to learn how to play Carry On by Crosby, Stills, Nash Young. We're going to talk about the acoustic parts. There's two sort of distinct sections of the song that we'll break down. It uses a unique tuning. We'll talk about that. And then we'll also talk about the two unique sounds that are happening on the electric leads in both of these sections. And for that, I'm going to showcase my brand new Princeton Reverb Tone Master, which is pulling off these sounds, well, perfectly. Hey, if you haven't done so already, please jump down right now, click subscribe, and ring the bell. The bell lets you know every time I drop new content, which I do every single week. All my videos have jump links in them, so you can go right to the part of the lesson that you want to see at any point and bypass some of my yapping. If you're looking for other ways to support the channel, I really appreciate that. There's Super Thanks, which is just like throwing a tip in the tip jar right below. You can join my Patreon page where you can get chord charts and tabs to all the songs that I do here on YouTube, like this one. And I've even got a store with fun merchandise that you can check out. All the links are right below. Okay, so Carry On, I believe this is from 1969. Crosby, Stills, Nash Young. I think probably this is birthed by Stephen Stills, I would believe. It sounds like one of his songs. And it's got a unique tuning on it. And it's the same tuning that he uses on Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, which I also have a full lesson on, and the link to that is here, which you can click on afterwards. Okay, and the tuning is basically all E's. You tune all your strings to E except for the B string, you leave that alone, okay? So your 6th string, you leave that alone as an E. Your A string, you tune that down to match that lower E. Your D string, you tune up to an E. Your G string you tune down to an E, you leave that B alone, and you leave that E alone. Now I've got it tuned to roughly, it's E flat-ish to match what CSNY does on their record. But here's how it sounds. Like I said, that's the same tuning as he does on Sweet, Judy Blue Eyes. But check out my other lesson for that. Okay, when I play Carry On, I sort of throw the pick away on the acoustic, and I'm just using fingers, and I'm aggressively sort of hitting the strings with the sort of the backs of my fingers, the fingernails. If you listen to the record, there's a lot of energy in the right hand that's coming from Stephen Stills, and it just sounds like that to me. So that's the sort of right hand pattern. That sort of energy. Now in terms of chords, because all your strings are the same note except for one, the chords are a little interesting. Now the main part that you hear is loosely based off the E shape, the D-shaped E that you normally play at the 4th fret, right? But you can't use that, you can't fret that G string there anymore. So what you do is you just sort of make the bottom part of the D on the 1st and 2nd string for this sort of main part. And what you're doing is you're playing to go back and forth. You're just adding that 5th fret every once in a while. So again, you're on the 5th fret of the B string, which is an E note, and you are on your 4th fret of your 1st string. So it's that part of an E. And the rest of your strings are playing an E anyway. Right? So you're just, so that goes like this. And to my ear, it sounds best by fretting that note there. Because you get a little vibrato on it, and it sounds like that's going on the record. So this is an E, and then this is an E, just open, right? So you're just bouncing back and forth between the two. That's that part. Every once in a while, he just gets really aggressive on the strum, and he does that triplet. right? And you just sort of throw that into taste wherever you want to do it, or not at all. So for the verses, there's a single chord shape that gets repeated across the neck. And the way that I play that shape is I fret on the 6th string, I fret on the 3rd string, and I fret on the 2nd string to look like that. Now, because all these strings are sort of the same note or in unison, like you could do 6, 4, 2, and it would be the same, but I'm just in the habit of playing it in that way. It seems easiest to me, right? So with those shapes, the verses go to a D. Now I know there's E notes ringing, so it's not perfectly a D, but D, 5th fret A, 3rd fret G, and then open with your right. Nice, good galloping pace there. Okay, and then there's the sort of turnaround part. Plays it a little differently. So it starts on your 7th fret B, G, D, A. Right? It's the rejoice, rejoice, you have no choice but to carry on. Right? That's the sort of part, right? So the regular verse. Turn around. You have no choice but to carry on. And that's sort of all the acoustic parts of the first part, the first half of the song. The second half of the song is I'll show how you can still stay with this acoustic guitar throughout the rest of it. When you listen to the record, you sort of don't hear it all that much. Other instruments come in and take precedent. Maybe this is going on in the background. It's hard to tell. But you can still play along with that whole thing. And it sounds great. And a little known fact about this part of the song, I don't know how little known it was. Sorry. It was little known to me until just like 3 years ago that this whole second half of this song, at least the lyrics, are already a song from the Buffalo Springfield, which is Stephen Still's band before Crosby, Stills, Nash Young. So he wrote the lyrics, I'm guessing. And it's Questions. You know, the song's name, I believe, is Questions. And he inserted all those lyrics into the second half of the Carry On, right? So it's after the big breakdown on the first part, it's, you know, that whole thing. And it comes in with drums, and it comes in with that awesome Hammond P3 organ going on, right? And the great bass groove. But you can sort of play with that theme with your acoustic, and it sort of sounds like this. It's the same chord shapes. What I'm hitting is open, 3, 5, 7, 10, and then 12. So it's on your guitar, dot, 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 skip a dot, and then your dot at 12, right? Same chord shape that we used before, but that's the groove. Okay, and then the lyrics come in, and this is where it's Questions. It's the same lyrics from the Buffalo Springfield song, but the way you can play along on this tuning with the acoustic is you start on on your 12 string. Where you going now, my love? 7, your B, D, 10. It does a pickup there. It's kind of a funky timing there, but will you bring me happiness? Will you bring me sorrow? It's that sort of feel, right? I love that part. Questions of a fancy dream. That's just straight down. 12, 10, 7, 5, right? When you do it, what you see. Mama, can you talk to me? And sort of the feel is different than the first part, right? I'm using one finger, I think, predominantly, and it's usually upstroke where you're finding that beat. At least I am. So again, those 2 verse parts on the question section, the second part of the song. And that's the acoustic parts. Pardon my singing, just to give you context of where those parts fall. But greatness, that's the tuning. Someone called it a modal tuning, maybe it is. All E's and a B. All right, now let's talk about the cool electric parts that go along with both of those acoustic parts. Now the first electric part that you hear is this great 60s electric fuzz tone. And they're super tasty parts, and he sort of plays little riffs that follow the breaks in the lyrics, and then at the end of that, he just keeps going and just actually plays over the entire last verse or two underneath. Now what I'm going to do is demonstrate the first couple sections of that fuzz, but I've worked out the entire fuzz sections, and they're all on tabs and all available on my Patreon for the full section. Now in terms of tone, I have no idea what guitar he used. I'm using my Strat just because I think that sounds best with the fuzz that I have. So I'm on my Strat, I'm on my neck pickup. I got my tone rolled all the way off. That really seems to help and let the fuzz do its thing. And I'll show the settings of my fuzz pedal. It'll be down in the description. I use a Fulltone Ultimate Octave fuzz, but it doesn't have the octave switch engaged right now. So it's just fuzz. But it gets a great tone, and I'm going right into my Princeton Reverb Tone Master amp, which I just recently got. Love this thing. It's super versatile, and this is the first time I'm showcasing anything that it does. And I think this is great. I mean, to my ear, this thing takes that fuzz signal, and it just sounds awesome. I've got treble on about 6, and the bass almost all the way down for this particular setting here. And later on in the lesson, on the other electric part, I'll show you how I think it also does a great job mimicking the super cleanest of the clean sound that is on the second part. Okay, so the fuzz parts. Okay, now throughout these leads, it's 100% minor pentatonic scale. It's like blueprint minor pentatonic scale licks. Now again, I'm tuned down to match the sort of E flat that I hear on the record, you know, that we have on that. So, but I'm still playing at the 12th fret. You know, if you're on standard tune, it's probably all the same things. You just move it down a fret from what I'm going over here. Okay, so that first lead comes in at the 38-second mark. I'm going to go all the way up on my volume. Again, my tone is all the way down, neck pickup. And it goes like this. I'll do it one time slowly. So everything is right there in our minor pentatonic scale, right? Which is... And he's up in that position. That's where everything lives on this. All right, then there's a couple super short little leads that he does after the next sort of section of verses, and then I think there's one more. It's just little things like that. Last one is at 1:08, and it goes like this. All right, and one more time slowly. You know, everything is just right there. And you know, for sort of an intermediate guitar player, it's not stunningly hard necessarily, like where the notes are. But if it's not your exact style and phrasing, it sort of is. And for me, I was surprised how hard I had to work at it just to sort of get his phrasing. And it's really, really interesting. Like, he's not like super speed demon. He's not like all over the place. He's not inventing new scales. It's not that. But it's just a little 2, 3, 4 note phrases and things that are unique to Stephen Stills or Neil Young, or whoever's playing that part. It's just, you know, different than whatever my home bass style is. And so it took me a little while to do it. But all the tabs for all the fuzz parts, again, are on my Patreon. Links down below. Check it out. Let's talk about the next electric part, which is super clean. Okay, for the second part of this song now, the leads are different, or the tone is much different. It's like as fuzzy and dirty as the first part was. The second part is as clean as can be for these first little leads that come on in. And I believe that's happening because he's plugged his guitar direct into the soundboard, is what it sounds like to me. So it's not probably running through an amplifier. It's actually going right into the soundboard. And gets very unique sound. Again, I don't know what, guitar he was using. So I'm sort of recreating with what I'm using. Again, I'm on my Strat. This time I'm on my bridge pickup to get as crisp as possible. My tone is rolled down to about 4 or 5. I've got a wah-wah pedal. We're going to be using that in a little bit. And what I've got here to help is I've got this wah-wah pedal cocked all the way to the front, all the way down, sort of the most trebly part. And again, I'm running into my new Princeton Reverb Tone Master. I've got treble on about 5 and bass on about 3, and sort of no other EQ or anything else going on there. So that's what I'm using to get my clean tone, to approximate that. It's not going to be exact, but it's kind of close. And I'm using fingers for this part of the lead now. Just really going to pull on the strings and make them pop. Okay. So again, I've got tabs for all this section. I'll run through a couple of them here, but again, check out my Patreon to sign up to be able to get tabs and chord charts for this and other lessons that I do. Okay, and again, this is the part that's coming in with the new sort of groove. That's going on, right? So this is again going to be straight E minor pentatonic, and to my ear, I think he's playing that on this, based off of this E minor position, 7th fret, because I think I'm hearing like more. I think I've got that unwound G string going on in there, but just a little more lighter gauge string. So that's how I'm hearing it anyway. So here's that first lead. Oh, he catches. It's weird. I think he catches that open A string. Whoops. Before that last little lick. I think I hear that. It's either open A or that A. But it sounds like he might have hit the open A, which is kind of cool. But stylistically, you know, there's a lot of pop to those strings. And very trebly, very sparkly. Just a super cool sound. All right, the next little lead section, he comes in with the wah-wah pedal now. So still a clean guitar. I think it's still that direct into the board thing. But now he's actually rocking the wah-wah pedal. Again, I'm gonna stick with my fingers. You could use a pick, but I'm just gonna stick with my fingers on this one. Break this up into two parts, and here's the first part. Again, my wah-wah is just gonna rock on this rhythm. So that's that first part. Again, all very much in the minor pentatonic scale. It's all right there. Okay, and part two. So first part was sort of living on this part of the scale. Now he's going to travel up to that part of the scale for the next part. Again, all the tabs for this are on my Patreon. Okay, and he goes on and he does more of that wah-wah sort of on the outro, but it's all living in those same places. It's very E minor pentatonic. But that's it for the electric part. So very cool fuzz part for the first half and ultra clean on the second half, mixed in with some wah-wah. Just a super creative landscape for that song. Okay, did you learn something new today? I really hope so. If you haven't done so already and you like what you saw, please jump down, click subscribe, ring the bell. The bell lets you know every time I drop new content, which I do every single week. Let me know in the comments what you think about this and if there's another song you want me to take on and do a similar lesson. And until next week, take care, everybody.